I missed my son's birth, skipped my honeymoon, and sold my $227,000 house to keep the company alive. When I showed up for the 10-year anniversary celebration, security stopped me. "You're not on the list, sir." I blinked at the man in the dark suit, scanning the names on his tablet without lifting his eyes. I was standing outside the very building I helped lease a decade ago, the one I took a second mortgage on my home to help secure. The glass doors gleamed behind him like some kind of ironic joke, reflecting the golden lights of the company's logo above them. "I'm a founder," I said, forcing calm into my voice. The security guard didn't flinch. "List says family and founders only." "I'm a founder." Behind him, laughter echoed from the lobby. Champagne glasses clinked. Music pulsed. I saw my sister, Allison, standing near the bar in a deep blue dress, laughing with people I didn't recognize. She glanced my way and then looked straight through me, like I was invisible. Then she leaned over and said something to the guard. He turned back toward me. "She says you're not on the list." I felt my mouth go dry. Not on the list. Not even a courtesy invitation. After 10 years of killing myself for that company, skipping sleep, watching my marriage fray, missing the birth of my only child because I was on a red-eye flight to pitch to investors in Toronto, I was not on the list. I looked at Allison again. She raised her champagne glass in a little shrug, like this was all out of her hands. Like it wasn't her name on every document I'd helped file. Like she hadn't called me crying 4 years ago when payroll was about to bounce, and I wired $30,000 from my own savings without a second thought. I smiled. Just a small, calm, terrifying smile. Then I turned and walked away. No scene. No shouting. No drama. I walked down the steps, pulled my phone from my coat pocket, and opened the draft tweet I'd written 3 days ago, because some part of me knew this was coming. One word. Sold. I had sinned. By the time they realized what it meant, the papers had already arrived. And no one could find me. 10 years ago, it was just an idea on a whiteboard in my sister's garage. Back then, we were nobodies. Just two burnt-out ex-corporates with a dream. I had the tech background, back-end systems, security architecture. Allison had the vision, the pitch voice, the presence investors loved. We agreed. I'd build the engine, she'd drive the car. I was the one who said, "Let's go all in." And I did. I sold my house, a modest 3-bed I'd saved 8 years to buy. Listed it quietly, signed the deed over for $227,000, and wired every cent into the company. Didn't tell my wife until it was done. We were supposed to move into our new place that spring. Instead, I rented a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat while she stayed with her parents. That was the first fight. "You sold our home without even talking to me," she'd said, her eyes wide with disbelief. "It's temporary," I promised. 6 months. A year, tops. This company's our future. But 6 months turned into 18. Then 3 years. Then we were sleeping in separate beds. She gave birth to our son while I was on a client call. She texted me a photo, and I stared at it from a conference room at 11:48 p.m., sitting in the same hoodie I'd worn for 2 days straight. I saved the image. I never deleted it. It's still in my phone, buried between investor spreadsheets and timestamped pitch decks. Allison knew all of this. She was there when I pawned my wedding ring for payroll one brutal January. She watched me break myself for our vision while she basked in the glow of TEDx talks and glossy profiles in fast company. But every time I tried to step forward, get my share of credit, request a salary beyond bare minimum to survive, I was met with vague smiles and, "Let's revisit that next quarter." At the 5-year mark, the company raised $6 million in series of funding. I didn't get a raise. At year 7, we signed our first Fortune 500 client. My name was nowhere on the press release. When I pushed back, Allison patted my shoulder like I was some confused intern. "People don't need to know who does the plumbing," she said once. "They just want to know the bathroom works." That's when I started documenting everything. Every wire transfer I made. Every sleepless sprint. Every email where she promised we were equal. I archived them in encrypted drives. I kept quiet. Played my part. Let her shine. Until the moment I saw the shareholder restructuring documents. She diluted my stake. Quietly. Over 3 consecutive quarters. Legal, technically, because I'd signed the authorization pages during a tax review blitz. I hadn't even noticed. My 47% share? Now 11.3%. Just enough to keep me pacified. Just enough to keep me not dangerous. "You know what optics are, right?" she said when I confronted her. "You're not the face we need anymore. You're tech. You're back end. Back end." The same backend that kept our servers running during that cyber attack. That coded the security layers that won us government contracts. That saved us a $2.5 million breach penalty. I should have walked then. Instead, I stayed. Like a fool. Because I kept thinking of that one night in the garage when she said, "Whatever happens, we do this together." Turns out together had a short shelf life. I found out about the 10-year anniversary gala from LinkedIn. A generic post. No mention of me. Just Allison posing in a gold dress beside a cake shaped like the company logo. The RSVP site was password protected. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I smiled. Not a polite smile. Not a tired one. The kind of smile you wear when you're done playing nice. I called my lawyer. "You still have that holding company we set up in Delaware?" I asked. He did. "And you still remember that clause we buried in the original founding documents?" He did. Good. Because buried deep in the legal weeds of our early contracts was a contingency clause, one written back when Allison was still too broke to afford her own Uber rides. It gave me a quiet option. If my stake ever fell below 12% without unanimous board consent, I could trigger a sale clause to a third party, without board veto. And I had found the third party. A competitor we once mocked. Small. Hungry. Ruthless. They offered me $6.2 million for my remaining stake. The only thing I had to do? Sign. So I did. 3 weeks before the gala. I sold the heart of the company. And I didn't say a word. The moment I walked away from that glass building, I felt everything slowed down. The champagne. The music. The people laughing in cocktail dresses. And the security guard still staring at his screen like he didn't just escort a ghost out of his own legacy. My shoes crunched the sidewalk as I walked toward my rental car. No one followed me. No one called out. They didn't even realize what had happened. Not yet. But they would. I sat in the car, engine off, phone still in hand. The tweet had already gone live, sold. One word. One cut. Sharp as glass. I opened my private email. The one tied to the Delaware holding company. For unread messages. Funds received. Transfer complete. Contract executed. Welcome to the board. My lawyer had done it. The ink was dry. The sale had closed. The competitor, ironically, the one Allison once called a joke with a logo, now owned 11.3% of the company. My 11.3%. Along with 3 small blocks I'd quietly purchased from disillusioned early employees. Their total stake? 19.8%. One board seat. One voice at the table. One battering ram through her glass walls. I didn't go home that night. I didn't answer the phone when my ex-wife called, probably wondering if I was okay. I wasn't. But I was something else. Something better. Free. Instead, I checked into a hotel 30 miles away. Paid in cash. Burned the clothes I wore. Not metaphorically. I literally tossed them into the hotel fireplace. Every thread of the founder uniform I used to wear gone. I spent the next 72 hours off-grid. No phone. No email. Just the sound of silence. And the first real sleep I'd had in years. Back at the company, panic hit around hour 40. The tweet started trending in niche circles. People guessed. Speculated. Someone leaked the clause from the founding contract. The tech subreddits erupted. He sold his stake. To who? Why? By Monday morning, they had their answer. The new stakeholders sent a letter to the board, requesting access to financials, requesting a vote, requesting clarity on recent structural changes concerning minority shareholders. Allison's name was on every document, her fingerprints on every dilution. Suddenly, everyone wanted to talk to me. My email lit up. From Allison. Subject. What did you do? No greeting. No warmth. Just raw panic. From Head of Legal. Subject. Urgent. Request for conversation. From CFO. Subject. Please clarify. We didn't know. But the best was a text. From Allison. You think you can just walk away like a coward? I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. I walked away because I was tired of cleaning up after your lies. She didn't respond. Day 5. An emergency board meeting was called. The new board member, the one they didn't recognize, showed up. He laid out everything. The sale. The clause. The silent transfer. The archived emails I'd given him. He read my name into the record. Then he submitted a motion to review founder misrepresentation and initiate leadership restructuring. Allison laughed, apparently. Loudly. Dismissively. Until he played the audio. A recording I made 6 months ago when she said, "He's a liability. He built the machine, sure, but I run it. We'll dilute his shares until he's harmless. He paused the tape, then said, well, I kept the receipts. And finally, someone listened. Motion passed. Allison remained CEO temporarily, but the ice had cracked. I stayed gone. Changed numbers. Closed accounts. Sold what little I had left in the city. And just disappeared. Until 2 weeks later, on a random Thursday, Allison did something desperate. She went public. Posted a teary video online. Painted herself as the victim. Called me unstable, manipulative. Said I abandoned the company in its hour of need. She cried on cue. Spoke of sleepless nights. Claimed I'd sabotaged everything out of jealousy. The internet ate it up for 5 minutes. Then someone posted the full shareholder trail. Then another posted the voice memo. Then another asked, if he was so irrelevant, why did he still have the power to sell? Suddenly, public opinion turned. Hard. Investors got spooked. Our biggest client, one I personally negotiated, terminated their contract. Allison vanished from LinkedIn the next morning. I heard later she tried to claw back the deal. Said it was invalid. Said I'd misled her. But the paperwork held. The clause held. The truth held. I stepped back. And the truth took care of itself. Weeks passed. I heard from my ex-wife. She'd seen the story. She didn't say much. Just sent a photo of our son. He was standing on a soccer field, holding a trophy, grinning wide. First place, she wrote. He asked if you were watching. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then I opened the photo and whispered, always. Because now I could be. Now there were no more servers to patch. No more red eyes to Toronto. No more skipped birthdays or missed honeymoons or emails at 3 a.m. I sold my past and bought my future. 3 weeks after the board meeting, the company released a statement. Dry. Sterile. PR sterile. Effective immediately, Allison Quinn has stepped down as CEO of Peaver Technologies. We thank her for her contributions over the past decade. The board will commence an executive search for new leadership to guide the company forward. No mention of betrayal. No whisper of diluted shares, secret votes, or brother versus sister war. Just a clean surgical cut. As if 10 years could be swept into a 2-paragraph obituary. But people knew. Because the moment the press release went live, my inbox exploded. Journalists. Former employees. Industry analysts. People who had once watched me fade into the background like a shy intern suddenly wanted to hear my version. I gave them nothing. I let the silence speak. Because the truth was already out there, buried in archived emails, board minutes, and voice recordings leaked by people who'd finally had enough of smiling through her dictatorship. Allison didn't vanish quietly. She went down clawing. First came the Medium post, how misogyny destroyed my company. It framed me as the bitter tech bro who couldn't handle a strong woman in charge. It racked up likes until someone posted screenshots of her calling me a drone with no vision in a Slack chat from last year. The narrative shattered. Then came the podcast interviews. She cried. She blamed toxic startup culture. She tried to reclaim the victim narrative. But the silence around her was louder. Because behind the scenes, everyone remembered. The marketing assistant she screamed at for missing a semicolon on a Twitter post. The engineer she told, you're replaceable, 2 weeks before his wife's cancer surgery. The HR manager she ghosted after promising her equity. The intern who got fired for calling out missing health benefits. No one defended her. Even the VCs started deleting tweets where they once praised her as a visionary. Meanwhile, I was halfway across the world. Literally. I flew to a small village in northern Japan, rented a ryokan, left my phone in the safe, and wandered through forests older than empires. Slept 12 hours a night. Ate rice in silence. Read books I hadn't touched in years. One night, I opened my email. Just one. From the new interim CEO. Subject line, we'd like to talk. I laughed. They wanted me back. Not as a founder. Not as a shareholder. But as a consultant. A fixer. The guy who knew how the system actually worked. I typed a reply. Just one sentence. You'll need more than what you owe me. Then I hit delete. Not send. Delete. Because I didn't want it. Not anymore. It took 6 months for the media storm to die down. By then, Allison had moved out of the city. I heard through a mutual friend she was living on a friend's couch in Miami, trying to launch a female entrepreneur coaching platform. Her LinkedIn profile went private. Her TEDx talk stopped circulating. She became background noise. But not to me. Because I still saw the crater she left behind. In my family. In myself. Our parents were mortified. They called me one night together. First time in years. You could have warned us, my dad said. We had no idea it had gotten so bad. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? You never asked. My mom cried. She's still your sister. Not anymore. Blood doesn't bind betrayal. What does is respect, honesty, loyalty. And she burned every ounce of it. My ex-wife called again. She asked if I wanted to meet our son. Not over Zoom. Not in passing. A real day. A real visit. I met him at a small park in Oregon, where she'd moved after the divorce. He was taller than I remembered. Freckles like mine. Wore a hoodie with a logo from a coding camp. I felt my throat tighten. Hi, he said shyly. Mom says you used to build stuff. I did, I said. But I think I forgot how. He tilted his head. Maybe you could build something with me. We spent 4 hours assembling a Raspberry Pi and turning it into a portable game console. When it booted up, he laughed like it was the best thing he'd ever seen. I didn't think it'd work, he said. I smiled. Sometimes, broken things still do. That night, I sat in a rented cabin overlooking the coast. Sea air. Waves crashing below. My laptop open on a blank screen. And for the first time in a decade, I wasn't writing code. I was writing me. A memoir? Maybe. A warning? Probably. But mostly, a confession of what happens when you sacrifice everything for something that forgets your name. I titled it, Back End, because people only see the logos, the speeches, the champagne galas. They never see the cost. The man who skips his honeymoon. The father who misses his son's birth. The builder who hands over his house key in silence and watches a sister become a stranger. But I see him every time I look in the mirror. And now, I smile. Because I am no longer back end. I am the man who walked away and watched the empire fall. They thought sold was the end. A final breath. A digital mic drop. But they didn't realize. It was just the fuse. And the fire hadn't even started yet. The day the tweet went viral, I received exactly 647 direct messages. From ex-employees, journalists, distant cousins, childhood friends, even Allison's former assistant who once cried in the bathroom after Allison screamed at her for using the wrong font on a pitch deck. They all wanted something. Answers. Vindication. My side of the story. But I didn't answer any of them. Not because I didn't have anything to say. Because I finally had nothing to prove. You see, when you've spent 10 years being erased from your own story, the most revolutionary act is not to explain. It's to move on. To stop begging people to see you. And start building a world where you don't need their permission to exist. The board tried damage control. They appointed a spineless interim CEO who sent out a morale-building email filled with phrases like looking to the future and respecting the past. Then came the exodus. In a span of 8 weeks, 15 employees left. 3 engineers. 2 designers. And the original front-end architect who built the platform's backbone and whose name Allison always conveniently forgot in interviews. I watched it unfold like a silent reckoning. No blog posts. No drama. Just a trail of resignation emails with one recurring phrase. Time to build something I believe in. God, I love those people. I didn't tell them to walk. I didn't have to. They saw what I did and realized they were free too. But Allison? She did the opposite. She went nuclear. Started a podcast. The Burnout Diaries. Claimed to be starting over. Called herself a phoenix. Wore beige hoodies and did Instagram lives about healing from betrayal. I watched exactly 1 episode. She told the audience I stole the company from behind her back. Stole. My own legacy. That's when I laughed for the first time in weeks. Because I remembered her words from years ago when I mortgaged my home to keep the company alive during a dry quarter. That's what family does, she'd said. You believe even when the books don't. Yeah, I believed. And I paid. With my house. My marriage. My sanity. My identity. And now she had the audacity to claim she was the one betrayed? Please. You can wear all the linen and filtered vulnerability you want. But not all who fall were meant to wear the crown. They just prove how high you were before the fall. People keep asking me if I'd do it all again. If I regret building the company. And the truth? No. I don't regret building it. I regret not leaving sooner. I regret the birthdays I missed. The wife I lost. The years I'll never get back from watching someone else climb a ladder I built. I regret being so loyal I forgot how to breathe. But most of all, I regret not realizing sooner that no one is coming to save you. Especially not your family. Especially not when they've learned how to weaponize your guilt. You are not a villain for choosing yourself. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not heartless for walking away from people who only loved you when you bled for them. You are free. The money from the sale hit my new trust account 48 hours after the final signature. $6.2 million. I could have bought a mansion, a Tesla fleet, a boat. Instead, I bought a mountain. Literally. 38 acres of forest land in Colorado. A cabin, solar panels, a satellite uplink, and a silence so complete, it felt like music. No meetings, no Slack, no investors asking if we could add NFTs to the roadmap. Just birds and pine, and the sound of my own heart recalibrating. I built a small studio, painted the walls, set up a workbench. No logo, no title, no LinkedIn. I wasn't the founder anymore. I wasn't back-end. I was just me. For the first time in a decade, one day I received a letter. Not an email. An actual envelope. Handwritten. Return address. Unknown. I opened it carefully, expecting something sharp. Inside was a note. I get it now. I shouldn't have said what I said. I'm sorry. L? L? As in Lena. The marketing director who once publicly told a room full of investors that I was too technical to lead. I kept the letter. Not because I needed the apology, but because it reminded me. Even the ones who help bury you sometimes dig themselves out too. Last month, I started building again. Quietly. No launch. No countdown. Just a tool for freelancers. Built with love, not hype. I sent it to 3 friends. Then 6 more. Word spread. And within 3 weeks, we had 900 users. No marketing. No paid ads. Just gratitude. And every time I onboard a new user, I send them a personal note. Signed, the guy who once disappeared. It always gets a laugh. But the truth is, I didn't disappear. I just left the table. Because I finally realized something. You don't win by forcing them to give you a seat. You win by building your own house and locking the door behind you. So if you're reading this, some burnt-out soul who gave everything and still got told they weren't enough, let me leave you with this. One day, they'll uninvite you. They'll delete your name from the list. They'll stand at the glass door and say, family only, founders only. You'll feel your chest tighten, your hands shake, your heart scream, but I built this. And that's when you smile, walk away, disappear, and write one word. Just one. Sold. And sometimes letting go is what finally sets everything in motion. Because the truth? You never needed their table. You were the house.